back to another episode of Ambar Actually, and I'm here with my co-host Steven.
Thank you for having me yet again. I'm here every week. I'm going to be here the week after that and the week after that. I was here last week. I'm going to be here the week after that. So.
Yes, yes, sir, yes, sir. Today we are going to talk about toxicity and
Mm,
the normalization that I feel like toxic behavior has became in the last
mm.
couple of I don't know when it began really, but
Honestly, it's sorry for cutting you off. It's
go ahead.
kind of been it's kind of been present for forever. It's just it's levels to it, but I digress. I digress.
Right. So, I want to have a real conversation, clarity, not trying to bash anybody because I'm not perfect. I know that in some ways, someone could probably say I have been toxic. Um,
I will bash when appropriately. So proceed,
and,
proceed.
why this matters too, because I feel like at this big age, a lot of millennials are, in their 30s, 40s almost. And it's like, why are we still behaving this way? Like, why are we not doing the work as individuals? And for the most part, a lot of people who are doing the work, going to therapy and processing their emotions, because I feel like a lot of it has to do with people who have not processed past traumas. And
Mm-hmm.
so, they obviously project certain behaviors and identities onto other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know how to self regulate and things of that nature. So, we're forced to deal with people who aren't. And then the people, like I was going to say, the people who are doing the work are usually the victims of such behaviors. Right. So, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, toxicity as a whole is a very complex sort of topic. We're human beings. We're layered creatures. We're a very layered sort of species. So there's gonna be good and bad with who we are. And then there's so many things that I was saying earlier today. Um, you know, we're born a lot of people, a lot of us, all of us are born into situations that we didn't ask for. And we don't choose these situations, and in turn, these things can have an impact in who we are as we become adults, as we start to navigate the world. And then you also add on the other sort of influences when you talk about your environment, the people you hang around, your own personal experiences, the things that influence you. So being toxic, or the toxic traits that someone can have, it's not avoidable. We are all been toxic in some sort of capacity, because we're all, people that are growing and learning as we go through life. Um, and it's becomes difficult for some people to kind of adjust or make those changes. And it's even a skill and a level of like work that's required to even identify that there's something that is quote unquote wrong with you. So it's very much a layered sort of conversation. But yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that you could kind of discuss it and unpack the different things. But you you're the boss here. So whatever you say goes. Whatever you say goes.
But is that toxic? Like, no, let me stop.
I mean,
I
if
like
you
to be
really
in charge. I like control. So I will
if it
admit
if
that,
you really
at
want me
some
to if you really want
go
me to
ahead.
express how I really feel, like we got time. We got time.
But okay, some characteristics or like things that fall under toxicity, I would say are like hypocritical, take advantage, take criticism of any kind, can't take criticism of any kind, never admits
Hmm.
to being wrong, play mind games,
Mhm.
can't be uh trusted,
Mhm.
expects blind loyalty but is not loyal,
Mhm.
twist everything you say to benefit them,
Mhm.
extremely manipulative,
Mhm.
always has to win,
Yo, this is a long ass list. This is a
self-serving.
long ass list. Is there something you
Yeah.
want to share with the class? By all means.
I'm just saying, like, because I want people to be aware too, because I feel like some people aren't self-aware that they like behave this way, or
Hmm.
maybe they're in denial, or maybe they just don't give a fuck, right? They just accept it, and they're just like, this is who I am. That's a big one too. Like, or I'm not gonna justify certain things, and it's like, well, actually, you kind of should dive deep into why you're behaving this way.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Can you list off some of the first few that you mentioned? Because there are some of them that kind of are in the gray area ish. Like, what was the first one?
The first one was hypocritical.
We're all hypocrites. So is that really toxic? Because we all have, the things that we may necessarily align with, but then at the same time, we don't like what other people may do it. So I think depending on the situation and the circumstance and the people involved, being a hypocrite may not necessarily be toxic. It may be counterproductive, but not toxic. And then what was the other ones?
Can't take criticism of any kind.
Another one that may not be necessarily toxic. Sometimes people may criticize you on something that's a soft sort of subject, something you may be insecure about or whatever the case may be. So that might be like, eh, let it go, let it go, let it go.
Right.
I'm trying to think if there was another one. What were the other ones again?
Never admits to being wrong and plays mind games.
Oh no, that's guaranteed. That's stamped. That's stamped. I think it was just those two. I think those two
Okay.
are yeah. But yeah, I think it's all circumstantial, but there is a lot of them or a lot of examples that are like clear cut defined toxicity. And like you said, if you're not aware of these things, it's hard to then identify it to then start making those changes. Cause this is something that I say a lot to people all the time, more so as a joke. But it's like they say I think discovery or acknowledgement is the first step to recovery. You don't
Mhm.
start the process of like making the change. You have to first identify that a change needs to be made. And a lot of people
Mhm.
struggle to get to that part because we have jobs. Some people have children. Some people have to take care of family. Some people have physical ailments or mental ailments. So it's like there's so much going on in someone's life to then sit down
Right.
and like, you know what? I'm unhappy with myself, or why do my relationships not work out? And it doesn't also have to be romantic. Like you could have
Mhm.
relationship issues with family, you could struggle with platonic relationships. And a lot of times people don't actually sit down to like really like strip these things down of like, hey, yeah, maybe this person did something, but what was my part in it? Is there something that I could have done that caused this sort of rift? So it's a lot. Go see that
Mhm.
lady. Go see that lady. Y'all stressing motherfuckers out. Go see that lady.
Well, I don't want to talk. I don't want to. Well, we'll bash people if it's appropriate, right? But I want to.
I'll bash you. You could you could play good cop. I'll play bad cop. I will
Okay.
bash.
So, obviously I'm a woman, and I see the discord online about what some toxic traits in women might be. And a lot of what I
Hold
see
on.
and
Time out.
hear,
Time out. Let me get ready. Proceed. Proceed.
a lot of what I see and hear are that we lack accountability. We have
Hmm.
emotional manipulation issues, and competing instead of collaborating. I would say that last one, I will agree, because I feel like, and to a certain extent, right? Because I have collaborated with a lot of women, but then I've also been on the other side of the fence where it's like I feel like sometimes there's a little bit of animosity when it comes to that, or like there's a little bit of like jealousy, or like undercover animosity
Hmm.
sometimes with certain folk, and it's just like, where's that coming from, do you agree with some of the list of things that I said?
I've definitely seen the whole like recurring joke of like women don't like to take accountability for their actions or whatever the case may be. I do think there is some level of truth to it. We always see the stories about what the opposite person may have done, but it's like, okay, but it takes two individuals here. Like it, you know, a lot of times when you see, some of these reality shows or like I love couples therapy, a lot of times women enable men to do certain things. Granted, it starts with the man first. He shouldn't be doing the fuckery. But if you provide him the space to do it, you can be upset, but you also have to have some level of accountability of like, oh, okay, like I've allowed this behavior to exist. So there is sometimes like a lack of accountability there. Um the animosity thing, that might be true. You see a lot of conversations about, women empowerment as, a sort of, I don't want to call it a genre or industry, but that sort of topic and like how a
Mhm.
lot of times, I have friends who, work in these influencer industries or social media agencies, and they'll go to a lot of these events, and these, women, or some of these women, I should say, are big pillars in these industries, and then they promote certain things. But then when it comes to like engaging with people and actually being honest or whatever, that's usually where it falls flat.
Mhm.
And so I think, again, nobody's perfect.
Right.
There's fuckery on both sides, both sexes. I mean, if you really want to talk about it, there's a lot of toxic shit in the LBGT community as well, you know, in some of the sort of viewpoints that they have. A lot of their culture originates from Black women, but yet they also, participate in some of the toxic behavior that happens towards women as well. So it's like there's a lot of toxicity to go around. It's not
Yeah.
this sex only does this and nobody and everybody else is, kosher. Like everybody
Right.
fucked up out here.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing that I would say that women do use to kind of leverage or to kind of hide behind kind of getting some form of information is like this girl's girl um, stance. Like, for example, you might not know a person from a can of paint, and then, here she come expecting for you to give tea on a situation that she may think that you know. And it's like, why do I owe you that? I don't know you. Like, like the whole thing of like women coming to you as a woman, and then she's like,
Mhm.
prying and wanting to know what relations you have with such and such individual when, at the end of the day, probably this individual is single, like, or you probably never knew about her existence, just an example.
It goes to the accountability thing. It's
Right.
like you directing your energy to the wrong individual. So, um, instead of holding said person accountable or deciding to remove yourself from the dynamic, you're targeting your energy towards to the outside party. They're the reason that he cheated. They're the reason why they're breaking up my home. And it's like partially true, but also like you're not saying anything to him. You're not, putting him in his place. Or I've seen the whole like, oh, nobody's intended to be monogamous and like men are supposed to cheat and like whatever the case is. It's like
Mm,
there is no scientific proof that
right.
says human beings are not meant to be monogamous. You either believe in it or you don't. So then to try to then validate it because you just want partnership no matter what the circumstance is, kind of wild. It's
Right.
kind of crazy if you really want to ask me. Like you making shit up to validate certain things. So, everybody go see the
Yeah.
lady. Yeah, I'm
Right.
probably gonna repeat that
Yes.
multiple times, letting y'all know that
Some
now.
and the men are off the hook either. Some of y'all toxic traits, not not directed to you, but in
Listen,
general.
man, I am 39 years old. There is no way in hell growing up in Brooklyn, New York, East Flatbush specifically, that I've gone about life unscathed and not having certain viewpoints or probably um not approaching certain dynamics with people accordingly. Like it's just not you have to go through that. That's the only
Yeah.
way you become a better individual, a better boyfriend, a better husband, a better friend, a better whatever title you want to throw in there. Like you have to have some level of conflict with the people that are in your immediate circle at whatever point in your life, because without that, like you stay that same person, and then in turn you end up the 50, 60, 70-year-old person who's like, "Yo, why you still act like that?" And these are the people that we see in our family. These are the toxic uncles, toxic aunts, toxic mothers, toxic fathers, because they never grew up. They still holding on to certain ideologies and beliefs that they had when they were like 20 years old. And it's like, listen, the world is different. This is not the fucking 50s and 60s anymore. Pop isn't a nickel. Like, wake up, wake up. So,
So
yeah.
avoidance would be one thing I feel like men are suffering from. Emotional.
I won't say suffering. I mean, suffer is a bit much. I know you're at a loss for words, but yes, this definitely they're not suffering.
Of
But
emotional unavailability, ego,
mhm.
control, manipulation tendencies. So, how do you feel about those?
Check, 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 and check. I mean, as someone who has a significant number of women friends, I've heard a lot of their stories with men and dating, and a lot of those traits are exactly what happens. They want the control. They don't necessarily see women as equals. They kind of see them as, their sexual vessels to come to fulfill all of their joy and all of their pleasures, but not necessarily looking to provide the things that are necessary in return. And then you add on, the layered aspects of lacking emotional empathy or not being consistent or not being communicative. Like all those things are very much present. And like I started off, like a lot of people are born in unideal situations. So when
Mm,
you single parent homes, broken on homes where there are poor parenting, even if both parents are present. You're growing up in impoverished communities, so you're around people with similar incomes, similar social economic status, so they all kind of operate and think alike. Like all these different things kind of play a factor into how someone grows up and becomes that sort of person. So yeah, very, very, very accurate. Very accurate.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people hide behind avoidance as peace. Like because they're like, oh well, it's peaceful if I don't, deal with the emotional aspects of a woman. Um,
I don't even think it's that level of depth in it. I think they just don't care.
mm,
It's not even like trying to have some level of peace. It's like I don't care enough to even acknowledge whatever you got going on, which is very unfortunate. But I really
yeah,
think that's the case.
I do too. I've definitely have came to that ideology where it's
Or
just
it's
like,
either that, or they just lack so much emotional intelligence that they
mm,
don't even know that they're not even aware that something is off
right.
because
Or,
they're just focused
mhm,
on they're just so focused on like, I spend time with you. We may have sex from time to time. I may take you out from time to time. I'll be at your crib from time to time. That's it. Like they're not thinking anything more. They're not thinking anything in depth about the dynamic of like, okay, how does she make me feel? How do I make her feel? Do we have those conversations? What are our long term goals that don't involve tangible things like,
mhm,
yes, house, what you want to do professionally, how much money you want to make, do you want kids? Like all those things matter, but like, okay, what are your goals as an individual? How do you want to
mhm,
emotionally mature? What what are the things that stimulate you? Like what are your passions? Like I don't think a lot of people on both sides actually, but specifically since we're talking about men, I don't think men really go into that level of depth. Like I know a common argument that has been made for quite some time now is, women and being gold diggers and pursuing dudes with money and funding these different things. Like it should be, yes, some of it is weird, but also just don't date them. Like you just don't date them, don't acknowledge them. And one of my homegirls kind of said it, like, gotta start looking at these people like weirdos. Like, if you want somebody to like financially provide your whole entire life, you don't do nothing. You are essentially just a dependent and he sleeps with you or you're his trophy wife, whatever. If you're not that type of individual who wants that and seeks that, then when you are approached by, well, women don't necessarily do the approaching, but when a woman you're trying to engage with approaches you with that sort of circumstance of like, hey, either you do this or you buying this or you paying my rent and we can't hang out, you got to start looking at these people as like weirdos and just disassociating yourself with them. Of
Right.
like, that's fucking weird that you want that. You don't want any level of independence on your own. That's all. Something's off. Like, more power to you if that's what you want, but something's off. And I'm just, exit stage left.
Right. I feel like, okay, so like, we talked a little bit about where it may come from, trauma, upbringing, normalized dysfunction,
Hmm.
media illusions too. Like, I feel like so much people are so gun ho on like the comparisons of it all. Like, oh, this is what I see online, or this is what I saw on a television show. And it's just like the comparison of it all.
Yes, it plays a factor. But before that is the household.
Yeah.
What are your
Mhm.
examples when you are a child? You know, not to say that a single parent home is not ideal. I mean, it's definitely not ideal, but not to say a single parent home is
The blame.
not to blame, not to say a single parent home isn't sufficient enough to raise a child accordingly, but the choices and sometimes lack thereof play a factor. So it's like, if you so many examples to choose from. Young boy who is raised by his single mom. You have some women or some mothers who, because they have no place to put that sort of love that they ideally want, they put that into the child in a dangerous sort of way. So it's like, oh, he's the man of the house, or jokingly, he's my boy, that's my little boyfriend, those sorts of remarks. And so here's someone who grows up to like have this very specific experience with how the first woman he's ever introduced to, this is how she treated me. And so I'm expecting now that women that I experienced to hold me to the same regard. That's not how real life works. Both
Mhm.
sides, you have to earn this shit. Like, ain't no somebody, nobody is obligated to just drop everything for you or put you on some sort of pedestal without it being earned. But when you have, a mama's boy who grows up like that, they just automatically assume, like, oh yeah, like, we see each other, like, you're supposed to be cooking. Or
Mhm.
when I call you, you're supposed to pick up. Like, no matter what. Like, that's not how this shit sort of works. And I think the point I'm trying to make is like, the household is the first option and first example. So whether you have a two-parent household and maybe the dynamic isn't great, or you have a two-parent household and the dynamic is great, that has an influence. Single parent household, that parent, whether male or female, doesn't choose the best partners that then are around their kids. Like, those are the examples they see. Single parent household, and then the step parent or the eventual step parent is an ideal partner. Like, these
Mhm.
things have impact. So then when they do see these images on the Real Housewives or the Love and Hip Hops or whatever, it's like, that's bullshit. Like, that's bullshit, because I know what an ideal relationship should look like. But when you don't have that in the household, it's like, okay, this is the thing that draws my attention from an entertainment standpoint. It's like, oh yeah, I like how this person is operating. I don't really grasp it, but I like it. And so I'm gonna try to adopt that to my life. And it's like, that's not how it works. It's
Yeah.
not how it works.
And even, yes, there may be some defects with single parents, but also people who are being raised in two family homes. Like maybe the child seen that the mother was doing all of the labor, and maybe the dad was infidelis, and if that's even a word. Um, and you know, uh, they think that it's okay to cheat on their significant other every now and again, or like have these
there
mistresses or
are
side pieces and things of that nature.
There have been multiple rappers that have spoken about, like, the ideology or the idea of, like, the bond between father and son is because the father has stepped outside of his relationship with the child's mom, and so he's the one who's like, "Hey, don't tell your mom shit."
Right.
And it's like you're putting hella toxic. You're putting a child in an adult space to make an adult decision of like, obviously you have a level of hierarchy. Like you are my father. I'm supposed to listen to you. I don't want to get in trouble. But now you're putting me in a position where I'm forced to make a choice on your behalf. And it's like, that's fucking wild. That's
Right.
absolutely wild. But these are the things that happen in people's, livelihoods. Or even you don't even have to necessarily see it, just how a man or a woman may talk about the opposite sex
Mhm.
could have an impact. It's like, oh, these niggas ain't doing shit. All they out here trying to do is just fuck around and all this. Granted, some of it is true, but also like they need healthy examples as well. Like if you
Mhm.
just constantly regurgitating the same information, people just assume that's just facts. Like they need to be told, like, oh yeah, like I remember when I had a nice time with this, or I did this, or there was whatever.
Mhm.
Like you need to balance it out. But you know, we see that a lot with co-parenting situations where the child is like the mom only got negative things to say about the
Mm.
father, whether it's warranted or not warranted. And so that child at some point develops some level of disdain because why my mommy don't like you? Why my mom don't like you? What's going on? So yeah.
So, what does healthy look like to you?
I mean, how much time we got? Um, I would say to not be long-winded. In general, healthy looks different for everybody. Everybody has their very specific needs. Everybody has their own experiences. So, what someone may need, everybody has their different love languages in terms of what they receive and then what they give. So, I think healthy is different for everyone. For me specifically, I'm a very low maintenance individual. I don't need that much. Like, I like to communicate. I like people who are considerate. I like people who are transparent. I like, and maybe this could be toxic about me. I like when people could, prioritize me in the same way that I could prioritize them. I'm not someone who has kids. I'm not someone who ever gonna have a kid. Not even a fucking goldfish is gonna be in this household. So it's like when I have off time, is either I have things that I need to do for myself, or I would prefer to spend that time with my significant other. Not to say that if our schedules don't align, I'm gonna have an issue, but it's like, hey, I want to see you. I want to spend time with you. And so the same way I'll probably rearrange my schedule for somebody, I would expect some of that to translate on their end as well. I'm not saying every time,
Mhm.
I make a plan like you got to change shit up, but it's like, yo, if we in this together, like we got to be working on this together. So
Mhm.
that's probably like the easiest way for me to explain it. I'm sure there's hundreds of other different things that I could kind of mention,
Yeah.
understanding me and like my level of, neurodivergence and how my brain works and being into like parallel play. Well, being into parallel play sounds crazy. It sounds like something sexual. But parallel play and like the idea of like I don't necessarily have to be engaging with my partner to have quality time. Like we could be in the same room or the same apartment in different spaces and like fine versus someone who's like, "Hey, what you doing? Hey, what you doing?
Mhm.
Why you ain't talking to me? Is something going on?" It's like you're gonna drive me insane. Please get out of my house. So it's like all those different nuances, but that's not something you learn up front, maybe.
Mhm.
Like these are things that it takes time. And I don't know if I mentioned it on the show before. Like I remember a very, very good friend of mine that I know. I was in the city. This was years ago. I was in the city going somewhere. I think I was on my way home, running into him on the train. And at the time, like he was with his girlfriend for like 8+ years, if I remember. They're now married, they have a kid. Um, and I remember him and I having a conversation, and then he was talking about his now wife. And he was like, yeah, like every single day I learned something new about her. And that
Mhm.
kind of like blew my mind because it's like people sometimes expect to like, oh, I got you figured out, or
Mhm.
You should know everything about me off the rip. And it's like, nobody's a fucking mind reader. It's going
Right.
to take time. And then even within that time, people are going to change. The things that I may be interested in, or the type of person that I am when I was 20 is not the type of person I am at 25 or 30 or
Yeah.
35 or when I turn 40. Like, I'm going to constantly evolve. So it's like, that's why a lot of married people is like, you don't always love your partner. Sometimes you may like them. Sometimes you might even hate them, but it's a forever sort of process of like, there's going to be ups and downs with it. So, it's layered, very
Right.
layered.
Yes. I would say a healthy looks like, someone who can communicate clearly. um, People who choose peace, and even when relationships are at war, like how can we resolve this in a
Mm,
healthy manner?
mm,
Because there are going to be points in time where you do have discussions or debates with the people, whether it be your friends or it be your partners, where you're not going to agree to everything. So it's like, how can we communicate these things that frustrate us without calling each other out of our names, or being spiteful and doing something because something was bothering us, not being the silent treatment too is unhealthy. So
mhm,
can
mhm.
you be able to express something that bothered you, and instead of just like, oh, sweeping it under the rug and just letting time go by and expecting your partner to figure out what it was, um emotional regulation too, like how are you under pressure? Like, can I trust you to behave in a in a public setting, where some things can be out of your control? Like, how and these are things, like you said, that are tested along the way, because you don't just
Mhm.
obviously plan for these things to happen. They just happen, and then you kind of just see like, okay, this is how they are.
Right, right. Which is very, very fucking wild when and no shade, no shade, but Imma say it. It's very fucking wild when you have people who barely know each other because it like we just said, it takes time. People really don't know each other and then they end up having a child. And
Yeah.
now you're expecting this person to like one party, normally the woman is like, okay, we've now put ourselves in this position. It's time for us for both to man up and like own up to our responsibilities. And we see time and time and time again, the other party does not hold up their end of the bargain. They either end up being a deadbeat, they end up being inconsistent, they end up all these different things, which then to tie it all back around, you'll see some women be like, "Oh, he ain't shit. He ain't this. He ain't that." Accurate. But also, where is your accountability in this? Because you didn't really know this person. Never had a conversation about whether y'all wanted children. You never had a conversation about what happens if something may happen. Like,
Mhm.
y'all don't, as someone who does not want to have children, these are very early conversations that I have with women that I'm dealing with. Like, hey, this is what I'm on. We shouldn't have no mistakes. We should avoid some of these different things because I don't want to be put in no position where we don't align on what the route is to take here.
Mhm.
Also, probably I personally shouldn't have no say in that route because it's not my body. And there's ways to avoid all these different things. But like a lot of times people don't have those conversations. And then when shit changes and then they expect the other person to then step up to the plate and do X, Y, and Z and operate a certain way. It's like, well, you don't know him. You don't know what he's going to do with life changing situations. You don't know if he's going to rise to the top or he's going to fucking fall apart. And so you got to think about these things. And like a lot of times people don't hold themselves accountable to it. It's like, you do. You should have
Mhm.
did this. You should have did that. I was like, true, he should have. But also like, you should have found out like what type of person he would have been if he y'all ended up with a child and like
Mhm.
what his viewpoints on even if the person does want to even move forward with the pregnancy, Are you even having conversations with what his parenting style is? What does he see for his children? What does he want for his children? What is his ideology when it comes to the idea of raising a child, especially in today's society? Like, I have a conversation with my dad the other like a long time ago, and my grandmother has dementia, and like we were randomly having a conversation. He's like, "Yeah, like, this is why you're supposed to have kids, because like these are the people who are going to take care of you when you're old." And I'm like, that's not a child's job.
Mm.
Like, you would hope, but you decide to have a child. Your job is essentially to raise them to the best of their capability so then they could go out and navigate in the world. It is not technically their job or responsibility to then take on the quote unquote burden of taking care of you no matter through thick and thin. These are their own people with their own separate lives. Not everybody is going to financially be in a space where they could take their parent back in their household. Or by that point, they may have their own kids. They may be married. Like, do you really want to be in a house where it's you, your man or your girl, your 2 or 3 kids, you may have a dog, you may have a cat, and then your mom is around and y'all gotta take care of her all the time, and she's gonna input in what y'all be doing. I'm like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that with the baby." Man, shut up. Like,
You bring up
these
a
are
good point because I feel like too parents could have been toxic too growing up. And how am I now hypothetically, like let's say, I had a toxic upbringing and then, maybe there was distance between the parents. And so now, unfortunately they have this diagnosis and it's like, oh, now I have to be responsible for an adult who was toxic to me growing up. Like now I have to find this empathy.
and they don't even have to be a toxic thing. I do not have the resources to take you in and support you.
Mhm.
It's already mad expensive for me to take care of my own family. Now you're telling me I have to take care of you too. But then if we specifically we're talking about black and brown people, there is this stigma, especially with Caribbean immigrants, of like, oh, you gonna put me in a home? You don't care
Mm,
about me. You gonna send me to die. It's like, no, like, I really do not have the time to take care of myself, my girl, or if you're a woman, my man, or if you're into the same sex, whatever, whoever your opposite is,
mhm.
my kids, my whatever, trying to change careers, whatever. And it's like, then I have to take that on too. And it's like, so many necessary conversations need to happen before people take these steps and
Right.
take these like life-changing actions, because it's like, yo, like, people are not obligated to certain stuff. You would hope that when push comes to shove, they'll make the right decision or the informed decision, but you really don't know. But hopefully you would at least have the conversation about it. So it's like, if this person switches up on you, then it's like, oh, okay, well, if they told you X, Y, and Z, but then they did A, B, and C, I can't be mad. But then if you never had the conversation and then the person went the opposite way, it's like, well, you didn't know. You didn't know what such and such. It's like
Right.
when playfully as a child is like, hit me one more time, watch what I do to you. Like,
Mhm.
this person has told you your action is going to lead to a consequence versus,
Mhm.
well, we never had a conversation about kids, but now I'm pregnant. And now it's like, well, you're getting an abortion. It's like, huh? What do you mean? And it's like, well,
Mhm.
I don't want kids. I didn't know that. Well, I told we never talked about it. So it's like, there's so many
Yeah.
different steps and so many different things that need to happen in so many different avenues. I mean, I know I've been talking about like the kids situation as one, but like that applies to everything. Or like, what happens if one of us gets fired? Who's gonna take care of the house? I mean, you almost never hear these sorts of scenarios. What happens when a man gets fired and like now the woman is the provider, but now
Mhm.
she starts to feel resentful because it's like, look at this broke ass nigga, he just sitting on my couch. Insecure. Like, Issa started to
Mm.
become resentful of Lawrence because he wasn't getting his shit together. Granted,
Mhm.
that example may not necessarily be as applicable, but it's like these are the sorts of conversations you should have with someone of like,
Yeah.
"Hey, are we signing this lease together? What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? So that way, when it does happen, I have some sort of idea how you may participate or how you may operate in said scenario versus, well, this happened. I thought you would do this. You don't know shit. I don't know shit.
Right.
So it's like, come on, come on. People got to talk. People got to talk. Talk
Yes,
to the lady
people do.
first. Talk to the lady first. Then talk to everybody else.
That moves on to my rant of the week. I feel like, you know, people who like to pretend to be nonchalant or take nonchalant to like the highest level. It's like, why is everybody pretending like they don't care, like they don't have feelings, like they're not pressed, they don't nothing bothers them, especially when they are dating someone. Like obviously if you're dating someone that's nonchalant, that's not um your cup of tea, you gotta exit immediately, right? But it's just like sometimes people like to play those games where it's just like, oh, I want to see how she'll chase. Men want to be chased nowadays. It's like I'm not chasing you. I'm sorry. And if that's what you think is gonna happen, I'm just letting you know you're probably gonna be waiting for a text to the end of time.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about it.
Um, Another layered sort of situation.
Mhm.
So the whole nonchalant thing, I think it definitely stems from the aftermath of like social media, of like people airing out way too much personal information about their life and like people then making fun of them because I think this is why I think the human species is so overrated. But like the internet lives forever. Whatever you post on there lives forever. So it's like if you go out there and post a very embarrassing experience that you've had, at some point, people gonna find it, people gonna comment on it and have their opinion about it. And it's not going to be in the moment only. It's going to keep coming up over and over and over and over again. And I think so many people got so used to treating social media or treating essentially the camera on their phone as their therapist.
Mm,
Yeah, so many people sharing their own like unideal situations with people to then get ridiculed by people. So then it's like, you know what? The only way I'm not going to get ridiculed anymore is if I don't put myself out there to get hurt
mm.
or to be vulnerable. And so you see it on both sides. You see men who don't fucking care because a lot of them are just chasing ass and titties. But now you're starting to see women being nonchalant of
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to showcase anything because if I showcase something, that means I'm going to be vulnerable. And when I'm vulnerable, that's when y'all motherfuckers start acting up and start feeling like you have it in a bag and you ain't going to do X, Y, and Z anymore, or you stop doing certain things. And it's like, y'all playing fucking cat and mouse and nobody
Mhm.
wins.
Right.
Y'all just being idiots. You're all being fucking idiots. Like, the whole point of dating, the whole point of partnership is to be vulnerable and to express the emotions with your partner that you cannot express with your family. There's a reason why it's called platonic versus romantic. Yes, there may be aspects to a platonic relationship that are romance or intimate in some sort of way. You can love someone without necessarily physically, showing it in a sexual sort of manner.
Right.
But But when we're talking about the physical, when we're talking about how you prioritize people to a certain extent, there's a certain aspect to a romantic relationship that is reserved for that. And maybe I could be wrong with that sort of theory. That's just how I operate. Yes, you my friend. I could hold you down from time to time, whatever the case may be. You my girl, all dibs are off. Like if we're dating, we locked in, it's borderline like shorty, family, and then friends are after, and then whatever work is after that, or whatever the case, however you want to work your hierarchy. Like, as someone that I'm romantically involved with, you get certain privileges. You know what? I really didn't want to do anything, but she actually wants to go out, so I have to go out, unless I
Mhm.
really don't want to do anything. or I'm really not feeling it. But it's like under if this was just a friend, it's like, no, we not hanging out this weekend, or
Right.
we need to reschedule. So the whole nonchalant thing is very fucking weird because it's like is essentially how can I is essentially like two magnets, you know, trying to stick to one another. Two negative what is it? I think it's like the two negative sides on a magnet will always push against each other.
Right.
So it's like
Mhm.
that's essentially how you're playing the game because it's like, oh, I want to be courted. I want someone to treat me nice. I want somebody to take me on dates. But then when you show up, it's like blank face, no personality, whatever the case may be, and then you go home, you may have enjoyed yourself or maybe it's the opposite. You did showcase something or whatever the case may be, but then you go home, you actually want to communicate with this person again, but it's like, you know what? I don't want to see him like I'm so
Mm.
easy. I'm not going to text him back. Like, what are we doing? Honestly, what are we the the purpose of a fucking cellular phone is to have access to people and you are literally choosing not to use it. And it's like
Right.
if I wanna text you like, "Hey, I had a great time," or "Do you have a moment to chat?" or "Do you wanna talk a little bit?" even though we both are at separate places or whatever the case may be, like, you could just have the conversation. Why wait
Right.
till tomorrow? Why wait till 48 hours? All these stupid ass rules. Like, all of this shit is dumb.
Mhm.
It's almost the same might be controversial. It's almost the same thing about, like, and I don't even know how many women still operate like this, but it's almost the same thing of like the whole like, oh, you gotta wait 30 days or 3 months before you could
Mm.
tap it. And it's like, bro, if you feel like this person has done the things that they needed to do to earn that sort of um physical connection where you feel like you want to take that next step, then go ahead and do it. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to change whether this person really wants you or not,
Right.
because there's plenty of people who have done the right things and they waited or didn't wait. And there's plenty of people who didn't do the right things and waited and didn't wait.
Right.
So it's like move freely. Obviously,
Yes.
move responsibly, but like
Mhm.
move freely. All these like rules and like, I don't want to show too much or I don't want to do too much. It's like, for what? Like the whole thing is like intention. Otherwise, why are you even doing it in the first place? You may as well just be
Right.
like, like I'd rather have a pen pal or whatever the fuck you want. So it's like I don't know, like people
Yeah.
are very much confused. People are very much, and then granted, it's not their fault. A lot of people don't have positive examples in their own livelihoods that they've experienced. That's one of the few things, not few things. That's one of the main things that I ask a lot of like my women friends when I see like they constantly go through the same sort of motions. Is like, have you had a healthy relationship at some
Mm.
standpoint? Because once you identify that, it becomes so much easier to then filter out the nonsense. But if you don't know what to do. You don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
It's like you go into a foreign country for the first time. You have no idea where it's left, right, up, down, north, south, whatever the case is. But if you've been there a couple times, it's like, oh, okay, like I know this place like the back of my hand. Like I know where such and such is. I know where to go here. But a lot of people don't have those experiences, whether they've had it for themselves or seen it in, their childhood. Like I see a lot more now of like, this is one homegirl that I follow. We follow each other actually. But this one homegirl of mine, more of an associate, but she always jokes about like how because her dad did such a great job, it makes men that try to pursue her in a very difficult position because my standard is here. I've witnessed how a man, at least from a father daughter aspect, how a man is supposed to treat a woman in that capacity. And then
Mhm.
I'm assuming that also ties into how her dad treated her mom. So it's like this is my standard. From what I know, this is where it is at. If you hear, it's not gonna work. If you
Right.
hear, it's not gonna work. You gotta be on the same level. It has to be on the
Mhm.
same level. But if you don't have that experience, you kind of just it's gonna sound crazy, kind of taking it all in, and you don't know what's wrong, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. So,
But it could be very dangerous, I feel like, as women who do, let's say a man does want to know about her history and she is honest and she's like, hey, I haven't really had pleasant experiences, and then she starts, being vulnerable and expressing X, Y, and Z. So now some toxic men will take that and they will use it to their advantage. They're like, "Oh, well, this is what she's used to, so I'm gonna treat her the same way because this is what she was tolerating." So
Right. And then
a
it
lot of
goes
the
back
yeah. Mhm.
it goes back to the accountability. It's like, do you want the same thing all over again, or do you want
Mhm.
the change? Like you, and even with the lack of experience, you still have experience. You may not have experienced a healthy relationship,
Right.
but what have you experienced? Bad relationships. Unless you have a mental disability, there's no way to in hell that you should be unable to identify the things that didn't work previously.
Mhm.
If I'm able to identify the things that didn't work previously, that means moving forward, I know what it is that I do want. Even if I don't know, even if I've never experienced it, I should at least be able to identify the opposite so that way I can at least not demand, but expect it out of somebody else. And so that I could go through that experience. And maybe I'll figure out whether it works for me or not. But it's like I already have a back catalog of what hasn't worked. So like
Mhm.
why would I continue to return to that or repeat that? I know how that old shit made me feel. Why would I do that again? So it's
Right.
like, yeah, a toxic dude is gonna take advantage, but it's also up to you to then not engage. Like
Exactly.
simple maths. Simple maths.
So, just to reflect on everything, what's one behavior that you think is normalized in toxic stances
Ooh. I
that
think the
people should
ghosting.
unlearn? Okay.
There's so many. The toxic thing. I would say the toxic thing, the overall toxic thing. I won't even say ghosting. I would say the overall toxic thing that I wish can stop being normalized is the transactional aspect of how we operate
Mm,
nowadays. Men purely looking at women for their sexual desires and any other benefit that they could get, whether it's a place to stay, money, access to someone's car, or resources, whatever the case may be. And then the transactional aspect from women's standpoint is like, in order to entertain me, here's my essentially is
a
borderline
deductible,
like pro
I like to
in
say.
order not even deductible, like it's like borderline prostitution. Um, like in order to entertain me, you have to hit certain tax brackets. Granted,
Mhm.
you based off of the life that you've established for yourself, that you are within your right to be like, hey, maybe I work somewhere and I'm making six figures. I only want to date people who make six figures. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But this whole like, oh, I'm only gonna step outside if you take me here, which is, this place. Or well, I think we brought this up on the show of like, oh, since I have kids, you have to pay for my babysitter in order for us to go on a first date. It's not my baby. You go sit it. Like, what are we talking about? Like, like the whole transactional thing
Yeah.
is very fucking weird because that's not how relationships operate.
Mhm.
Granted, it does because you technically are doing things for your significant other, but you're supposed to be doing it for a selfless reason. But
Mhm.
like, okay, if I keep doing what I'm supposed to do, one of these days, she gonna let the messy hair bun down. Like uh, these are the things that happen. But it's still supposed to be a more selfless act and not something
Right.
like, oh, I'm only doing this because I know X, Y, and Z is gonna happen. Like
Right.
I think the transactional aspect of things is definitely the toxic thing that I would like to remove the most because it's become very extreme, like very, very extreme, where it's like the
Mhm.
examples I gave, like, listen, if you're not buying me a bag, we can't talk. And it's like,
Right. We gotta go to Nobu for the first date, and I want a Birkin on the second.
yeah, yeah, or like, yo, our first date got to be on an island. And it's like,
I've seen a
well,
meme like that where it's like, "Fuck the small talk. Let's discuss at, Turks and Caicos. Let's have a
yeah, like
conversation there."
let me find out who you are in an exotic location. And it's like, granted, a lot of times women post that for jokes, but also like, especially in this day and age with all this Epstein stuff going on, like these aren't really situations that we should kind of be like kind of pushing. Like, and
Mhm.
we've all been on Twitter. We've seen all of like these bad, flown out stories of like women
So
going to
many.
places with with no money, and like she not trying to have sex, so that his behavior, like these are very dangerous sort of circumstances. But what the fuck do I know?
I think that for me, one thing, one behavior that I would like to not be normalized is the performativeness. Like it kind of goes hand in hand with, I guess, transactional because people will perform in order to gain close proximity to, a person that they feel like they deserve, right? I actually seen a TikTok today of a man. He was talking about how a lady was being hard to get, and in his words, she wasn't even the type of women that he would normally go for. That the women that he usually entertains were more attractive and X, Y, and Z. And because she wasn't really interested and or not giving him the time of day, he wanted to pursue that just because, but he knew deep down like that wasn't somebody that he even wanted at the end of the day. But,
Do
he
we
wanted that.
know? You know what we call that? We call that a predator. That
Right.
is a predator because here's someone who clearly he's not attracted to, someone who has already confirmed that she has no interest in him, but he is pursuing anyway. These are the people that need to be locked up. If you let Dr. Omar tell it, these are the people that need to be 6 feet under. You know,
Yeah.
though
Yes.
that are the people that you need to be afraid of, because those are the type of people that are going to take you through hell and back because of how they don't value you as a human being, but they look at it as a fucking game to like, it's like fucking Thanos and like trying to get all the Infinity Stones. Like,
Mhm.
you're sick in the head. You are sick in the head. I would
Right.
never want to pursue someone that I do not have equal mutual attraction to or mutual interest in. And I
Right.
would hope a woman wouldn't want the same of like, I know something I also see too of like, which is also dangerous, like the women who like promote like, oh, I want someone who's what's the word I'm looking for? Um Not persist yes, persistent. Like I
Mm.
like a guy who's persistent. Like I keep telling him no multiple times, but he don't take my no. And then
Mm.
eventually that no turns to a yes. It's fucking weird and it's very dangerous.
Yes.
Very dangerous. But I'm not licensed, so y'all don't gotta listen to me.
So, let us know how you guys feel about the topic. Have you ever experienced any of these things? And what do you think is toxic or healthy? And like, share, subscribe, and thank you for listening.